12:28.
Yes.
Connie Bourgeois, we're back in session. We'll call the meeting back to order at 12:28 p.m. Next up on our agenda is Pat Butler IHS and also joint venture. So I guess you guys want to talk about it, and I know there's some different things. I know you wanted to mention that we don't have to go through the preliminary. Go ahead, you got it.
Yeah, I'll defer to Pat and Pete on the phone.
So yeah, Pete probably has some of the numbers, but there was some, and Scott was probably in on that too. There was some discussion earlier about whether the architects would have to come in and do a whole lot more work with the drawings and pieces that were done, if the bids would come out similar to where they were in the projections that you worked through. And I think it was decided that there probably wouldn't be, if there were no changes to the construction as it was proposed, there wouldn't be a lot of architectural work other than to come in and shoot the levels or whatever and make sure the infrastructure that's been put in there now would be accessible and easily hooked up to facilitate the clinic, which was not there before. So that would also be an expense that's not in that package anymore. And Peter, Scott, if you have any more to add to that or any more specifics, please feel free to do so.
Pete, are you on?
I am, sir. That is correct, Pat. The architect had been contacted previously, and we had received a price at that time. We would basically just recontact them and update the scope of work and excuse me, get a price to proceed with reviewing that site. So you summarized it correctly, Pat.
Because some of the things were the redesign relating to the elimination of the link between the two buildings. Potentially, if we leave the whole trees in and remove the whole trees, and it could be more expensive now to remove them, possibly. They'd have to do a new civil survey, document review, redesign of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing to come up with a price and then go to bid as well.
So it sounds like it's ready to go, Chairman. Correct, Pete? I'm still new to this, so as far as being familiar with all the ins and outs of the joint venture, I did send out a cost-benefit analysis that was asked for at the last tribal council meeting, and I did email that, so I don't know if anybody read it, but I also brought copies as well. So if that, we don't have to review it, but it's available. I think we're all in probably agreement. I'm assuming here, I don't want to talk for anybody, that we're in a good spot to move forward.
You know, we met with Senator Tina Smith and also Congressman Peterson the other day, and we talked about it. You know, we talked about the, you know, we went over to IHS with the both Senator and Congressman and sat down with our partners with IHS next door, and we talked about how, you know, how joint venture came about, and also how, you know, how delicate the Nanawash existing clinic is and the age of it. You know, it was built in, what did they say, 1900 or what was it?
It's the oldest building in the IHS.
Yeah, the oldest building in the country. It's still open. And I know that this is some of the reasons why we were awarded this joint venture. And I think this is what we're kind of calling a lot of our stuff this day and age is, you know, we're become partners and ventures with, you know, like today we're looking at partnering with the state or the city of Minneapolis, you know, so we're coming kind of being really familiar with partnering with good partners. And, you know, I think as council, we're obligated to help our people and to look into the future and to plan for our kids, you know, and plan for our healthcare, you know, because we don't know, you know, in 25 years, 30 years from now, if they're going to open up the enrollment books and we're going to have 50,000 members here. So are we going to have the healthcare to facilitate that, you know, to help our kids, you know? So these are things that I always try to as myself, and I'm one of 5 of us, you know, and I've always was in agreement of healthcare is one of the biggest things right now. And if you look at today with COVID, you know, infecting us, you know, this is something that I think that we need more of on our reservation is healthcare. And, with the opportunity with joint venture of funding us, for 20 years of the labor and also the mechanical part about this agreement with IHS, I think it's a great opportunity for the tribe to move forward. It's a great opportunity for us to create jobs and a great job, to get us to where we want to be. And that's what I want to kind of address today is I think it's important that we move forward with this project because it's, like I said, it's something that I think that we need in a central location in our reservation because, if before, if you're in any of those other smaller clinics, in order to get an X-ray, you have to come all the way over to White's Clinic here. And we're going to have all those specialized areas will be in Natal-Wash. So I think it's going to be more easily accessible to our band membership when we have a clinic in the middle of our reservation. So I think it's going to give a great opportunity for our people to come up and come home and have health care for them. So I know we have a big addition going on back here in White Earth, and I think we're going to have one of the best health care, around here for us for many years to come. So I think with that, if any other council wants to say a few words, or if you're not, we'll just do a vote and to see if you guys want to move forward with joint venture. So
You guys got a resolution?
There was resolution approved once before,
Where?
but it's never been rescinded, so it should still be
Good to go.
good to go.
There you go.
But yeah, we do need, we see over 7,000 people in Natal-Wash. And you're bumper to bumper as far as room is concerned. Something I've been with
Mr. Chair,
for 4 years. And I want to see this happen. I really do. For our people. Our people travel so dang far, try to get medical help, and then they'll come back. And it's hard. It's really hard. So I really want to see this going.
okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Ray.
as Andy said that we should have a place for people for, all that, the place up there that she wanted a center for people who are alcoholics and drug addicts and, I think that should be a part of it. To build a clinic right now, when we're adding on to the one that we got, why couldn't we use that money for alcohol and drug center like Danny was talking about? Because we've got to get on that also. Like you were talking about earlier, there, Mr. Chair, that we got a very epidemic going on, and we got a problem with drugs yet, and that's an epidemic. So, that's just my thoughts on it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
I'd like to make a motion that we finally start the clinic.
To get the clinic back up, I think Lori can probably get that resolution that was put in place a while back. So you can probably get a motion to be a second for this clinic.
I'll second it.
Second by Annie. All in favor?
Aye.
Nays?
So, Nate,
What did you vote?
Huh?
What did you vote?
I want with Andy.
Oh, aye? Okay. Motion carries. Be good, guys. And we'll get that resolution. We'll get back to you. And Pete, did you hear that? We're gonna move forward. I know Scott's gonna get a package for us. I know we talked earlier about, different ways of financing. We don't have to use all of our third-party money. We always talked about, tax credits and USDA money where we can get the lowest interest, and also, with tax credits, we can always get the back end forgiven on them. So I think that, he's gonna reach out to Bremer and also to
MNCDC and
Yeah.
our Bremer Bank.
Yeah, so-
Because they both have tax credits, both are very excited about moving forward with this project. They're very cooperative of working jointly, the two of them with us together. So it's not like a win-lose. They view it as a win-win if MMCD and Bremer work with us on this.
Right on. And that's good news too, because like I said, and Ray has good concerns with our sober house or our family treatment out at the Christian retreat, and I think that's something that's going to be prioritized as soon as we get the model back from Clinton and also Lisa, that we can start that fourplexes out there and start healing our families. So I think it's important that we move down this road, and I think, with the right financing and Scott working on these tax credits, I think that we'll be sitting good. So I know that we're going to be exciting times ahead. So be good, guys. Thank you.
And then, but for the clinic in Rice Lake, the one day.
What's that, Ray? I'm sorry.
I said, so much for the clinic then in Rice Lake, the 1 or 2 day clinic in Rice Lake then, right?
Nope, that's moving forward.
That's already moving forward.
That already passed, Ray. We're already moving forward on that one.
And this is Pete. We're working on the scope of work and that to get over to White Earth Builders to move forward with that.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you, Ray.
So does the council want us to re-engage DSGW, the original architects, and start moving this forward?
Yeah.
Because, we hired them as the architects, they got all the plans, they'd have to start now with the additional scope of work, probably get a letter from them to identify their steps that we have to move forward now, because now a final decision has been made to approve it. So some steps may be different than if we would have just asked for this before.
Yeah.
Because the breezeway won't be built, which will change that piece a little bit.
Yep.
And
And the road will have to come all the way around
Yeah.
again, which will be good for traffic flow and the MRI truck and a lot of things.
And so that was the piece that I think has to happen before people do it.
Okay, so I'll visit with them and get confirmation from them on the direction and scope of work and the plan to move forward on that.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
And it's kind of a really good day. This is something that I feel like it's monumental for our people, and I think I'm just kind of inside. I'm really kind of happy that we're moving forward with this. And it's been
A long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and I know it's good. I feel good. It's gonna be good, guys.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Very good, Scott. Very good, Maria. Very good. Thank you, Scott. Next up, we got Rich Berg. Is he on the line, or is he coming in person? You know if he's coming out, or is he gonna? Just call him. Hey, Mitch. I'll put you on speaker here. I'll bring you down in 1 second. All right. There you go, Mike. Thank you, Alan. Hey, Mitch, it's Mike.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. How are you?
Good, my friend. Thank you.
I just wanted to call in, and I am very appreciative that Alan got me on the agenda because I know how busy you are. And I just thought I'd take an opportunity to, first off, introduce myself and to your newest district representative.
Thank you.
Yes, and I also understand too that you've gotten a new interim executive director by Lori Garcia.
Yep, hello, bonjour. Thank you.
Oh, hello. And of course, we wanted to say I follow up with, of course, Tara, and I'm just pleased to hear that our District 2 rep, Kathy, is doing well.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that we were hoping to continue to work forward on, making progress and advancing the reservation. I thought I'd let you know that, I really do appreciate the commitment of your staff. I've been working a lot, as you know, or maybe you don't know, with Mike Triplett, Mike Bowman, Don Shirk, and a countless of other staff members to, advance both your interests and our interests. Hopefully those are both mutual. COVID especially has been something that has been on our radar. I don't know if you knew this, but at the start of March, the city pivoted one of its revolving loans to provide 0% loans to businesses, not just within the city of Monoman, but elsewhere on the reservation. And we did provide 4 loans. One of them was to a tribal member. And so we've been pleased with that. We've also contributed to our county EDA grant program, which we are giving $20,000 grants to businesses throughout Monoman County. And we have received several business grant requests from tribal members in both Monoman, Waban, but throughout the reservation. We also received about 4,000 masks that I see how you guys are wearing those disposable face masks. We've also, we received those from the city of Minnesota, and we distributed those out to businesses throughout Monoman County. And again, a number of those have been tribal member-led businesses or businesses that are owned by descendants. We're also very pleased to announce that we've been working closely with Virginia Anderson at White Earth Housing, as well as Mahubi, to basically share information about different grants. Mahubi alone received a $100,000 allocation of assistance funding to provide for families that are struggling either with paying their mortgage or their rent. We've also augmented that with an $8,000 grant program to assist our city residents that are behind on their water and sewer utility payments. And so we're really pleased too that the tribe did their $500 program, and I understand too they have some other pools of funding too to help with foreclosure and rental assistance. And then of course I wanted to also mention too that we've got our big $10 million water and sewer project that we're about 50% complete. And, we're already seeing a lot of the great benefits of that. And hopefully what we'll get from that is, fewer water breaks, fewer sewer backups, which ultimately, when we're talking about impacting the day-to-day lives of our residents and our members, this is something that, we don't like to see. So I really want to thank you guys too for the hard work that you guys are doing. But I really wanted to, again, just introduce myself and ask if there are any questions from you guys.
Well, I appreciate all the work you do, Mitch. I know that, because I talked to the Becker County guy. I don't know if he's a commissioner or the EOC, and he talked about their $10,000 grant program. So I was wondering about Monoman if they're doing a grant program too, which is good to hear. Like you said, and that's something I wanted to reach out and probably talk to you too. Is like, so that's how you explained it. So it's great, and I'm glad that you're helping everyone up in Monoman and Monoman County, and it's going good.
We would also like to, now that you've kind of gotten a council now that hopefully will stay, and that we'd like to offer, it doesn't have to be council members, but perhaps a working group to kind of work on some issues, that of mutuality. I've been working a lot with Don Shirk, for instance, on trying to find you guys a home for your permanent supportive housing unit. In fact, Don and Lisa are going to be coming to our city council meeting on the 8th. Hopefully we can get you some a very suitable site. I mentioned to Don and in my council, I was sort of like this analogy that your housing development that was on 5th and Burkett was like a person with a size 10 shoe size, foot size, but you were trying to shove it into a size 6 shoe. So if we could get you guys more land, and I think Don agreed, hopefully we can get you maybe 2 acres, if not a little bit more. That will give everybody a lot, that will give the development a lot more breathing room. The other thing that, I know of mutuality is what to do with that site. And I've always talked about before, even when the tribe didn't own it, maybe because there's a dark playground space, there are a lot of members that own homes in that general vicinity, plus we have some boiler housing up there. Perhaps doing a collaboration with the tribe, you still own the land, maybe we could contribute some money and we could jointly put in a park to add some amenities in that area. And I know that Kathy, she's aware too that we're trying to look for, or they're trying to find a home for their Monoman Community Council.
Right.
And that we're in the process, hopefully knock on wood, at the end of this month, next year, or at the end of this month, I can tell you that I'm hoping we got a $135,000 grant to renovate our second level of our city hall. We're going to turn that entire space into community meeting room space. So we think that would be a great space for them. I know too, Pete Hadlin with their $3 million bank building, they're going to have a beautiful glass conference room. And he's even mentioned that could be a good viable space. So we're hoping too, that we can have some space more in Monoman for community gatherings, not just for the community council, but for other needed groups that want to meet in the community of Monoman. And we'd love to maybe
really be good.
see if we could get a working group to talk about these issues. I'm sorry, Kathy.
You do have, we have a good group of people from Monoman, but they don't have a place to meet. And that's my biggest concern, that get a place for them.
Yep. And, we've actually, I'm going to actually let you guys know what, too, is the city is going to be working on a new comp plan. We actually were hoping to start that this year, but because of COVID and the inability for us to really do good community engagement, we're going to kick that up hopefully in the fall of next year.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I really want our council to look at is to be bold and be visionary. I see too many small cities say, well, we just want this property to be residential or commercial because we don't want to piss off Bob, who's lived here and his family for years and years. I want us to vision a community of perhaps 2,000 or 3,000 people. So to think bold, let's look about building that next DigiKey, for instance, in Monoman. But where would we put that? And so to me, I can't do a comp plan without the tribal council and without the tribe going forward with us. And so, and what I mean by that is this supportive housing is a perfect example. We seem to be rushing at the last minute to find, a suitable space. Had we worked together even before this even came to fruition, I'm not saying it would make it any easier, But I'm just suggesting that if we were to be able to coordinate with the tribe, what are your needs? What are your future plans for Monoman? We could possibly put together something where, we could create a long-term plan that would be both mutual and beneficial for both the tribe and the council for many, many years to come. And it would hopefully avoid these confrontations, or not necessarily confrontations, but barriers to cooperation that we're sometimes encountering today.
Thank you, Mitch Miigwech.
Thank you, Chairman.
You guys have any questions for Mitch?
Mitch, are we ever gonna start up, I know a long time, quite a while ago, we used to meet with the board. I was wondering if we're gonna start doing that again. I
We
really
would
like
love to do that, and I know that, we have some, I think that's something that I'm more in favor, I'm definitely in favor of that. What kind of ideas do you have where we could start so that we could kick that off again? Would maybe like a resolution from both our councils, kind of, to memorialize some effort to start this process help, or what do you think?
I think that would be good, if we started with a resolution, both Monoman and Nadewa, and, our community council for Monoman,
Okay,
and probably this council too.
okay. I think that's a great idea. I will be happy to make an outreach out to the Monoman Community Council to start that.
Okay, well, that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you guys. Enjoy the weekend.
Yep, you have a minute.
All right, be great.
So our 1 o'clock is here.
Oh, is he outside?
Yep. We're looking for some technology needs, and then we also have lunch in the back if you'd like to get some lunch.
I just emailed you the IT part of it, so I'll link your back.
Sounds good, thank you.
I gotta take them, so I don't remember. I'm at that age.
You want to grab one?
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yes, please.
our water and sewer is moving a trailer here,
Uh-huh.
and they come around Roy Lake, and the axle broke, and now they're stuck here with that trailer. I mean, they got a backhoe here, but it's, if they let that backhoe now, that trailer is gonna tip into the ditch. They can't get it up high enough to get a new axle on it, or,
Do they got jacks
it
and
looks like they
everything?
hit that. Huh?
They got jacks and everything, right,
Yeah, they got a backhoe here, not a backhoe, but a front end loader that's lifting it up. But it's leaning so far now, they've been trying to block it up, but it just keeps sliding, and the only thing they're gonna need is another backhoe, but the other two are being, front end loader, but the other two are being used right now. One's in Ponsford, and the other one's loading gravel someplace down by Whiter.
Yeah, I think those,
So I don't know what they're gonna.
they're gonna probably have to get a bottle jack and some blocks and block it up and then put another axle on there with some good tires and, geez, I have an axle at the house too.
Well, each time they put it down onto the block, trailer slides on the block. They can't get it to rest on the on the block. I just pulled in here because I just got a call on it. Because water and sewer called me and they said that, we got a problem down here, what are we gonna do? So I just got here and this trailer is leaning something terribly. And if they move that front end loader now, that trailer's gonna tip over in a ditch.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, I don't know.
Well, did they have another axle?
Yeah, you got another axle, they just can't get it up high enough because the more they lift it, it keeps sliding in towards the ditch. But I just told them maybe if they put a skid down there somehow on, where they can let it down and then pull it up off where they could jack it up better, I don't know. But they do got bottle jack and everything, but everybody's afraid to throw underneath there now because if that backhoe, that front end loader lets go of it, it's gonna drop on somebody.
Yeah, some safety concerns.
Kind of a But I don't know, I'll check it out, it should spin up.
All right, thank you, Ray.
Well, what you picked up for the lunch already?
Oh, yeah.
But that would really be good, you know. That'd be cute. He was back.
So this
Which one
trailer's
woman?
sitting on side the road and in the ditch?
Well, that's what I remember mine was, they were sitting like that too.
Mm.
But they had all the professional stuff. They had the platypus and everything to get it around and move it. But they're professional movers, you know. I'm not saying our team isn't professional either, but I mean, but like you said, when it gets around corners, it's always dangerous, you know. And I felt scared to crawl up on the other side of the trailer too. So. Hello.
Hi.
My name.
Hey.
There's a couple seats here, one over there.
There's some pizza back there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
There's a spot across too, if you guys want to sit across one.
Yeah, come over there.
Nice to see you.
How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. It's a bit windy out there.
It is cold.
I was standing out and talking to them when they were inside of the car, and when they took the temperature when I came in, it was 96. It's cold.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you ready, Aim? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, next up on the agenda, we have Indoor Villages pilot project presentation.
Does everybody have the printouts?
Oh, no.
Are there any extra copies by chance?
Lauren, your extra copies of that? I don't know.
I mean, I have one here. I was hoping to show a video, but,
So I was working on the
okay.
thing, I can get it down here.
Okay.
Yours.
Okay. So, Craig, thanks for meeting with us today. We'll do quick introductions of who we are. I'm Adam Fairbanks. I know everybody here. Band member and also part of this development team for Indoor Villages. So we're here to kind of talk about the project and pitch an idea for consideration by the council. So, is Ray on the phone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then I know Peter Ebnett from the city is going to call in, and Sheila Delaney.
I'm on.
Okay, great. So, should we do intro?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Craig Wilson. Uju and aloha. I am native Hawaiian. So, greetings from the Kanaka Maoli. I'm on the development team. I'm heading up design and communications.
And hi, everyone. I am Emily Bastion. I am the Vice President of Chemical and Mental Health Services at Avivo. Our primary locations are in South Minneapolis, and I am here to talk a little bit about a survey that was done and some data. So nice to meet all of you.
And I guess one of the things that I think why you know Adam and his partners here is pitching this to us because you know right now down in the urban area in the Minneapolis area alone is that we have encampments, you know, and I know the mayor and you know the commissioners, the county, the board, the parks board. There's multiple facets here that have a lot of concerns over unsheltered Native Americans and also all people down here that are moving from park to park. And now, as we're speaking, they migrated, they got kicked out of this one area. Now they're over at the wall now, where we were kind of originally at for the last couple of years, 3 years. You know, that's where they congregate. And I know last year the Department of Transportation owns that property, so they kind of moved them out and they kind of scattered again. They went about and they moved into Powderhorn and moved into other parks across Minneapolis. So I know right now Mayor Fry and I know the other partners out there are really looking at trying to find a solution for our unsheltered people, members, Anishinaabe down in the urban area. So this is one of the many reasons why you guys have to table here to create this partnership with you guys. So go ahead.
So before we jump in, I want to give Peter, this can only be for part of the presentation. So Peter works for the mayor's office. Peter, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. My name is Peter Evnett. I work for the mayor. My policy portfolio includes affordable housing and homelessness. And so I've been working on this issue since the mayor was elected a few years ago. And I'm here essentially to express the support from the city for this project generally. And I actually also just got off the phone a few minutes ago with David Hewitt, who leads the team over at Hennepin County. And the county is also supportive. We're really looking at this as a way for us to be proactive in our partnership on this work, and to make clear that the city's not going to be a barrier to those issues that tend to hang up projects sometimes, zoning and that kind of thing. And so we're really open to supporting the project, to continuing to advance the work. We're committed from a staff perspective to make sure that we can get through all the regulatory hurdles, but also we're really actively looking at how we can use federal dollars that have come in since the start of the pandemic to be responsive through this indoor village model. And then also just to say that we're actively pursuing a variety of other things, including a culturally specific native shelter with the urban Indian population here, Mike Gozi at AICDC. And that's something that we're working on right now as well. And so here to listen and to express our support for the work that's going on.
Thank you, Peter. You're good.
Thanks, Peter. So I'm gonna let Craig kind of lead us into the presentation.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I've had an opportunity to meet Chairperson Fairbanks and Secretary Roy in the past. It's nice to meet you as well. You know, this has been a challenge for all of us this year. We have been dealing with so many crises, and in addition to the unrest happening, we have skyrocketing problems with people experiencing homelessness, and then COVID on top of all of that. And so we all came together as community members in Minneapolis to try to come up with a solution, and we're going to talk about that today. In order for this to work, we really need your help. So the idea is to give people dignified housing outside of park encampments, where they can get the services that they really need, the health services that they need. And so we're going to have Emily Bastian presenting, Adam Fairbanks, and also Sheila Delaney. Is Sheila on the call?
I think she's trying to get.
Okay.
We're working on it.
If there's a problem, we'll cover for her. But let's start the presentation, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So are you able to play the video, Adam?
I think they're working on IT, so we're gonna do it at the end if that's
So we'll do it at the end. Okay. Well, we have a really nice video that's been helpful for us to communicate to the larger community via social media, to explain what we're trying to do. Emily, would you mind talking about?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Pass that over to me?
Sure.
Perfect. So during the time that there were a lot of individuals that moved into Powderhorn Park in South Minneapolis, there was conversation around who is there, who are the people that are there, and what services do they need. And Avivo had the opportunity to conduct a survey of individuals there. And so what you see here in front of you is the data that we were able to gather from very low barrier informal interviews with individuals during a short period of time. And so we were able to just gather some basic demographic information. And so you see here that we surveyed 306 people, 137 of them, or nearly 45%, endorsed being American Indian. And then you'll see the tribal affiliation, showing the high percentage of individuals who endorsed affiliation with White Earth in particular. And so that just really kind of sets the stage, I think, for us as we're looking at solutions. to a problem, and who we need to make sure that we are bringing to the table and who we need to make sure that we're providing services for. So if there are any questions now or as we go on about this survey data or questions that we ask, please feel free to ask me those questions.
Thank you, Emily. Is Sheila on the line yet?
Sheila?
Okay, I'm gonna just cover for her. So the next page, I started to allude to this at the beginning of our presentation here, that we are in an ongoing catastrophe. And this is a response, a solution to that. In fall of 2017, as previously mentioned, we had the Wall of Forgotten Natives. In May 2018, the closing of the Navigation Center. We started this year with the Drake Hotel fire in Minneapolis, which many of you may have heard about, which really displaced hundreds of families. And then March, the COVID-19 pandemic started, as we're all aware, which followed with a spring full of unprecedented unemployment and riots in the wake of the murder of George Floyd. You may have also heard about the Sheraton Hotel and what happened. Are you all familiar with that? So there was a hotel located adjacent to the Midtown Exchange, the old Sears building on Lake Street. And that became an emergency shelter. And then there were problems with managing it. And many of those people ended up being displaced. And then that's when the park encampment started at Powderhorn. So they went just just south of Powderhorn and occupied Powderhorn. That led to more park encampments throughout the city, hundreds of people living in tents, which led to lots of problems with crime. There was sex trafficking, there was drug dealing, all sorts of really negative things happening. But at the same time, there was a sense of community that people had, and in many, there were success stories in the encampments. And one of the things that was a real solution was the fact that people had their own tents. They felt safe in a sense because they had their own space where they could keep their things, which is one of the things that led us to this concept that we've developed. Of course, in August last month, we have continued economic recession. I think it officially became an economic recession last month. And we expected an end to the eviction moratorium, but it looks like the federal government is extending that now until the end of the year. And we know this is Minnesota, so winter is coming with our first frost typically in mid-October. So this is really a pilot project. This is a new concept, something that hasn't been done before in the same way that we're proposing to do here, which we'll get to in a few minutes. We're exploring partnerships and how we can bring people together to provide a solution. We're evaluating housing stabilization services. We'd like to compare COVID transmission rates with other models between, traditional shelters and hotel to home models. And I'm using some jargon here. If you do not understand what I'm talking about, please raise your hand and I will explain. We're evaluating mentorship in that relationship, trying to maximize program utilization and revenue, and testing a replicable model. So those are really the goals with this pilot project. So in our unsheltered to housing continuum, you're all familiar, I'm sure, with traditional shelters. You have unsheltered people who traditionally go to shelters where they check in at night. They usually spend their evening sharing a space with other people, and then at 5 or 6 in the morning they're let go. That is a traditional shelter. And then the goal is to get them from there to permanent housing. So you can imagine how hard it is to go from a traditional shelter to housing. So there are some innovative new models that have been developed. One of them is something that Emily is an expert in, as is Adam, called the hotel to home model, which is the idea that we can put people up in hotels until we can find a safe place for them. And they can get the services that they need in the hotels to deal with mental health issues or addiction, etc. And then when the right space opens up, we can find permanent housing for them.
Can you chime in on your model?
Yeah, so Avivo, I think we might have been the first kind of this go around to do a hotel to home model. We had an opportunity to, right before the worst of the riots in South Minneapolis, we loaded up a couple of buses and moved people to a hotel from a specific encampment. And we moved 70 people. In the end, about 50 ended up choosing to stay with us. And we were able to provide mental health, chemical health support, physical health services, help with some basic living sorts of, cleaning, cooking, laundry, sort of, those skills. And in the end, we have been able to house, we have 3 people left in the hotel, but we've been able to house everyone out of that hotel into permanent housing with additional skills in about 60 days. It was very staff intensive, and at the same time, it was very client driven. Absolutely met the needs of the people that we were serving. The other piece of that was, I think, worked really well is that we moved everyone from a specific encampment, a community, people that were together, into a hotel together. And so it wasn't taking people away from people that they wanted to be around. It was moving everyone together. And so it was a very successful model.
Thank you for explaining that. So the hotel to home model works really well for many people, but there are some people who fall through the cracks. And there are also people who are not ready for the hotel to home situation. So that's where we developed Indoor Villages. The idea is that it's a very low barrier shelter that still offers privacy and stability so that people can start to address some of the underlying issues related to their being unsheltered, such as mental health and chemical and alcohol addiction. So anything that you think I should add to at this stage?
Well, I think one of the things that we found in the hotel model is that we don't, if somebody has behavioral issues or we need them to leave for any reason, we end up in a situation where we don't have an alternative place to send them. And we would like to create a model where if Emily needed to ask me to leave, they could go to Indoor Villages. Because right now, if they won't go to traditional shelter, we give them a tent and they go to an encampment. Like that is our current option. So we would like to create an opportunity to refer them into Indoor Villages.
And one of the things that we have discovered in interviewing people experiencing homelessness is that they often don't feel comfortable in shelters because they don't feel safe in them. They don't feel like they can protect their possessions. And this is an alternative that does allow them to have some security and safety. So our Indoor Villages project team is made up of our fiscal agent, which is Simpson Housing, a really reputable housing and shelter provider in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Steve Horsfeld is the operations and technical assistance guru on the project. Sheila Delaney is our advocacy and public relations lead. Kira Ranke is heading up community and governmental relations. Adam Fairbanks, who you all know, is our project lead and is focused on programming and business planning. I am working on design and communications, and Mary Burton is our commercial real estate broker. So tiny shelters are something that are really much more common on the West Coast currently, but with the crisis that is happening currently, we see them popping up now all over the country. Have you all heard of tiny homes, of course? So the idea is that this is a similar concept, but it's a shelter. So it's built in a more durable way to handle the needs that would typically be required in a shelter setting, especially with COVID. So it promotes social distancing. It helps to prevent the spread of COVID-19 by keeping people separated and away from each other in private spaces. It's affordable and reusable, safe, secure, and private. It's easy to clean and sterilize. So it's a little bit like an iPhone case. It's very sterile in the sense that it can be easily cleaned should there be some sort of contamination, which is built into the design. It also doesn't retain odors, which is really important. It's pet friendly, which means one of the other reasons why people don't like to go to traditional shelters is because they have pets that they're experiencing homelessness with, and they can actually bring their pets into this environment. And it has rapid production and installation. So these are mobile, they can be moved to different locations. They can be both indoors and outdoors. So our conceptual layout for property just outside of the North Loop in Minneapolis on North Washington and Plymouth Avenue is presented here. We have fit about 100 of these units spread out at least 6 feet apart from each other, which is a safe COVID distance, obviously, in about 35,000 square feet of space. The rest of the space is office, so the green part along Plymouth Avenue are existing offices that will be used for treatment and would be part of the health facility. The orange and yellow and purple areas are the bathroom facilities and showers, and those would be designed to be COVID compliant. The blue space is the entrance, which will have a security station and reception that will be able to monitor things in the building and on the street, and also provide dining services and a lounge for people to recreate in. And then the lower pink area is a smoking area, so that would be fenced in off of a loading dock. And the red and orange are laundry facilities. So moving on here, Adam's going to talk about the program model.
Thanks, Greg. So we have designed multiple services that would be operated in the green area on the previous slide. That there's about 7 offices. There's some kind of open where we could have kind of hotel space for case managers who could come in and you know, do charting, meet with people, and have workspace, as well as space where people could drop in, like different outreach workers and folks could drop into this facility. But I'm calling the green area a clinic, essentially. And in there, we want to provide public assistance benefit enrollment. That's been being done at the hotel to home model, where we get people on MA, food support, cash assistance, and then housing support, which is also known as GRH, or and is a housing subsidy. It's $30.70 a day is the rate for GRH. So that is a revenue source. And then the medical and public health services would be essentially subacute care. So it wouldn't be primary care necessarily. It would be potentially telehealth visits, you know, checking bumps and bruises, making referrals and doing triage, excuse me, to other medical care for like higher level, if there's higher need than what can be handled there. Then chemical health services could also be provided. So that'd be mostly like screening, brief intervention, referrals to treatment. Mental health, we would have diagnostic assessments, therapy, psychiatry, targeted case management. Housing stabilization is a new Medicaid benefit. So that would be housing assessment, plan development, housing search, and then ongoing stabilization services once people are moved in to housing. And we would be replicating the model that Emily described, where people would be there for a period of time. We would get them stable, connected to all these services, get them moved into their own apartments, and then, or permanent housing option, and then these services would follow them into the home to keep them stable. So that's what all these benefits are designed to do, is to really get people connected and engaged. And then property management, so that's kind of keeping the lights on, making sure things function, janitorial, and then also shelter operations, which is separate from service delivery. So you have your service delivery in the in the clinic, and then you have your shelter operations, which is going to be like shelter workers, making sure people are safe, monitoring, for behavioral issues and monitoring for overdoses and things like that, just making sure that everybody is safe in the facility, as well as food distribution. The meals will be catered by a vendor, so people will receive 3 meals a day in the program.
So as far as the timeline is concerned, we've been trying to secure funding since we started, which was a couple months ago. So we've made a lot of progress in a couple months. We're currently in the process of executing the lease and finalizing the letter of intent for the space. Site preparation will start in October, and the delivery of the tiny home shelters, which are manufactured just outside of Seattle, will be in October and early November. We have staff training in November, and we are hoping to open in early to mid-December. Fortunately, with this building, there's very little that we need to do to upgrade things other than adding bathroom facilities, etc. Additional bathroom facilities. So as far as the capital expenses are concerned, they're spelled out here. Site preparation is $1 million. The tiny shelters are about $800,000. We've secured through a family foundation located in Minneapolis, $400,000 of that, and hope to fundraise the rest via foundations. Security, consulting services, cameras, and contingency round up the rest for a total of $2 million. We will be seeking, as I mentioned, private foundation support for the tiny shelters, and then have requested $1.2 million from the state of Minnesota and other governmental agencies. So Adam's going to talk about the operating expenses.
Yeah, so this is a 24-month pilot project. The facility, so this would include lease, utilities, property management, security, and laundry. This is for the shelter specifically. This budget does not include the services. Is around 3.8. Meals and snacks, that's $15 per day per person. It's about $1 million for the 24 months. Shelter operations, so that's mostly office expenses, salary, and fringe benefits, around $3 million. Our contingency, around $10,000 per month. If anything were to come up, bed bug, we need to treat for bed bugs or sanitize the facility. And then 5% admin fee. We applied for an ESG grant to fund this, and there was an admin fee allowable, so we added that into this budget, should we be funded through that grant. And then for revenue sources, we're looking at housing support. I average about 80% of the people being eligible, so 1.5 in estimated revenue from GRH, and then ESG or other governmental sources could be a combination of city and county, or the county CARES Act funding. The city is going through their budget right now, planning budget. So looking at all sources at this point, and then gap funding being provided through private family fund or private foundations. So our ask of you today is for your support of this project and the resolution to be our partner in providing tribal health services for this pilot project. The good news is that everything is aligned and ready to go. Everything is teed up. We have a collaboration between governmental, nonprofit foundation partners. And now it's really about just making the operations piece work and having the services that we need on site in order to take care of people in this pilot phase. And so that's our ask of you today, and we're open to talking through that with you. And just to touch base on like the tribal health facility components of this, we designed it so that there would be potentially, just talking about tribal health and billing, 3 different billable encounter areas. So mental health, chemical dependency, and medical. This, of course, you would need to send something to IHS to have these services be added to your annual funding agreement. But that's why we're providing this 24-month ramp-up period for all those details to get hashed out, as well as being able to test the services in the clinic space to figure out what services will people use. How do we make sure that we are aligning those services to get as much utilization as possible, which of course will impact revenue potential. The hope is at the end of the 24-month period that the tribe will have established a sustainable billing model that would allow for this thing to be funded ongoing. So our pitch to government, city, county, and state is White Earth, if you guys agree to do it, would assume ownership and responsibility for this program after the 24-month period. And again, it's a pilot, so if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And that they should fund this as startup dollars. And we did build into the budget like an early lease termination should we not be able to make this thing sustainable. So there would be no financial contribution required from the tribe, and we built in a mechanism for the project to be discontinued if we can't make it work.
I just got a few questions, Mr. Chair.
Yep, thank you.
This is Peter. I'm going to have to hop off here, but just thanks everyone again for the opportunity to speak. We're ready to remain engaged and to work with both the tribe and the team that's working on this. I did also want to mention that we are coming up on winter and are trying to look at all different opportunities to make sure that people are sheltered. And one of the things that we had worked with White Earth on last year was the 212 Franklin Avenue mansion. And so my plan is to follow up with folks on your team to continue that conversation. But thanks again, everyone. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Well, just so I have clarity for myself. So you guys are asking White Earth to be, during this 2-year period, we're just a partner. We're not the fiscal agent, or we're not anything like that. We're just a partner that's going to be providing tribal health services during this period of time.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's correct.
So Simpson would remain the fiscal agent, right? Okay. And then the other question I had was,
Unless the tribe wanted to receive the grant funds.
okay. Not sure. So the other question I had was, so you projected out over a period of 2 years your funding sources and your operating expenditures, and so if White Earth comes in there and we're providing services, is there like an agreement that we're going to have where there's a revenue allocation plan where, like, if we're providing services there, certainly they're going to be, you mentioned they're going to be billable. Are we going to have to share those billable services with the team, or is that all coming back to White Earth?
So I would think in the beginning, during when this thing is funded, that White Earth would deliver the services, receive the revenue. I'm not counting on the revenue because White Earth will play around with the services that make sense. Yeah. So that's why we wanted to leave it out of the pilot project. The services are not currently included in these costs. This is just shelter operations. Okay. So we would need to, or White Earth would need to, whether it's White Earth delivering the services or if you chose to contract those services out to a local agency, that those service dollars would need to be identified. And then over that period is when you would play around with the different services that could be offered to try to get to, I think it's around 25 encounters a day that we would need to generate in order to cover the cost. So after the pilot period ended, that's how many encounters need to be generated to pay for this entire project. Plus, you would need to come up with the revenue to support the actual service, like the providers and the service delivery.
So basically, you're saying this is an opportunity to find out if that'll actually work.
Correct.
Okay. Other question I had was, because we're going to be partnering with you guys, this is, I guess Simpson is going to be the fiscal agent primarily. Jobs, okay? Jobs, tribal members in the Twin Cities Are tribal members gonna have opportunity to work at this facility?
Yeah, so this will generate 36 full-time positions just in the shelter itself. Those positions are, in the hotel, they weren't bachelor's level positions. Some of them are entry level. So some of our folks who have experience doing outreach in the community with this population would be strong candidates, I would think, for this work. One of the questions I have actually that I think I need a legal opinion on is if White Earth were to assume ownership of this thing early and you were to contract out services, can tribal preference apply to those contracted agencies? I don't have the answer to that. That would be something that I would want White Earth to do with your legal department to figure out if your contract providers can utilize tribal preference. But I think that would be great, especially given the high number of American Indians that were at Powderhorn. And then also, as this thing transitions to the tribe, I assume the tribe would want this to become a culturally specific facility that would be for Native people. So I would strongly encourage us on the front end to try to hire as many of our people as we can.
Okay, so, because I'm gonna get asked, so I'm gonna ask you. There's gonna be opportunity for tribal members to get some of these jobs?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. And then the other question, so what I need to see, Mr. Chair, is then, one final question clarifying before I get into that. I know when White Earth was discussing similar ideas about a year ago related to the homeless, and I know it depends entirely on the funding stream, the admittance into the facility. I know if it were purely funded by White Earth, certainly we get to dictate the terms of who's admitted, et cetera, but we're not paying for anything.
Yeah.
So the question I have is, if we're gonna partner up with you guys, what guarantees do we have that our homeless people will have a bed in that facility?
So I'm gonna let Avivo chime in here because they have a GRH agreement. So the thing that opens up the housing support dollars, that's 1.5 million in revenue, that is a tribal agreement between Red Lake Nation and Avivo. That's how they were able to do that with their hotel model. So I'll let Emily chime into how that works because they do have priority and preference.
So we have an agreement through Red Lake Nation to provide housing support, which means that we provide services to anyone who identifies as Indian Health Services eligible. And so we have an agreement, rather than having an agreement through a county, we have an agreement through Red Lake.
Okay.
And so it's an agreement with Red Lake to DHS to provide housing support services only for individuals who identify as Indian Health Services eligible. And that is how, so those programs, everyone identifies as Indian Health Services eligible or a direct partner with someone who is. And as a result of that, we have programs that are almost entirely American Indian. And so that same sort of setup for a nonprofit partner or for anyone to provide housing support would get to that same end.
You could give an agreement to yourself. So the tribal council could give a housing support agreement to your urban office to deliver services with priority and preference under the state funds for housing support. So there's 1.5.
So we can do that.
It's happening. DHS provided technical assistance through that process. Yep.
Basically, that means there's a high chance that our people are going to get a bed in the facility. That's what you're saying.
And Emily, can you talk about the preference?
Yes. So within that, within the fact that everyone that we're working with is American Indian, we also have a preference where individuals with our Red Lake partnership are Red Lake enrolled, but Red Lake enrolled elders or women with minor children, followed by anyone who's Red Lake enrolled, followed by anyone who's a descendant of someone who's Red Lake enrolled. followed by the same criteria with another tribe. And so we have been provided a kind of a criteria of sorts from Red Lake that we have been following.
You guys invented the wheel.
So it would make sense if White Earth were to be the partner, for White Earth to provide the agreement to the operator of the facility or the housing provider to have similar criteria that the tribe would have the ability to define.
Okay. The final thing, the only thing I guess that I need to see next would be just the resolution, the actual agreement, attach your proposal, send it down to legal review, and then maybe a recommendation as to which of our department leads are gonna manage this for the tribe, Mr. Chair. That'd be the only other recommendation that I have. Can you guys get that ready by next Thursday, or?
Yes, well, and I need to stress the timing is, we're under the gun right now.
Can you bring it Monday?
We will get it to you right away. Okay. Because we have.
Tuesday.
Monday we're off.
We will try to get it to you by tomorrow.
Well, hell, if we can call a special meeting, Mike.
So we have a letter of intent right now with the Lerner building. This facility, the Lerner facility, they have been patient with us, and we need to get a commitment from government in regards to funding. And the push that I'm trying to say is the tribe agreed to do this contingent upon the funding.
Yeah.
And then you guys need to come up with the money. We can then approach Lerner and say, we're ready to execute this letter of intent. And we need to move quickly because they have become impatient.
What if we just pass a motion for a letter of intent today, then come back Tuesday and get all that stuff? Would that work?
That would be amazing.
Is that okay, Mike?
What do you think? I mean, council, I mean, that's a good ask.
Sounds good. I mean, if our people committed, then, we need it.
I believe so.
Yeah, because I know what they presented is like, there's zero upfront dollars for our tribe, and, we partner with a good project, and, I think that, if it's gonna take our people out of these encampments and put them into a safe environment or a sheltered environment, that's the best interest of, I think, for us as council members. And
Yeah.
Ray, do you have anything to add to that? I'd like to hear from all the councils, so. Before we.
I don't know what the council wants to do with that. I'm not really sure. I don't, yesterday when you give me that, deal, it's come out to like maybe 10 to 12 people, we'd helping our people, but we got more than that homeless down there, And I don't know how much money we gotta put into that. I mean, he says not that much right now, but how much is it gonna cost us later on? And what cost for only 10 to 12 of our people in there when it's gonna be open to everybody and anybody, from my understanding.
So Ray, to clarify from our conversation yesterday, it's actually 100 of the tiny shelters in the facility. So we would intend that would be the capacity of the program, would be closer to 100.
Well, just our people, the whiter people, right?
Oh yeah. So you're wondering about the census of 15% of the people but that's more of a census, Ray. There could be outreach efforts made by the tribe specifically to try to find White Earth tribal members to fill these spots in this program.
And I don't know, Chair, I would like to have more discussion on this with the council. I mean, unless you guys want to move on it today, I don't know.
Well, we're just looking at a letter of intent, but then on Tuesday we can discuss it again, if that's okay.
Are you agreeing with that, Ray, to a letter of intent and have more discussion on Tuesday?
Because one of the things I would like to see is, just telling Cheryl is that, we're gonna get asked questions. Okay, you guys are gonna do this down in Minneapolis. What about the Reds? And that question is gonna be asked as soon as I walk out of this building. And so I'd like to see.
Exactly, I was talking about this to a few other people, and they said, oh, so you guys are gonna go down there, and we got a homeless problem up here, you guys ain't gonna do shit up here, and I said, well, excuse me, I said, we are doing a big thing up here.
Well, this is
So
something, sorry to interrupt you.
I mean, I actually think we should take care of the people on the res. I mean, I'm not saying that our people down there don't mean anything to us, but we do got a homeless problem up here, and we've got to deal with it,
Councilmember,
Because sooner or later, that's gonna, the money we're using right now to house these people now, I mean, we could have used that into a building or,
Councilmember, this is.
And as soon as we close it exactly at the end of September here, that's gonna really, they're gonna hammer us again, I tell you.
Yeah.
There's something to think about.
I was just gonna just say that we could certainly look at doing something similar up here if that is of interest to the council.
I mean, we have a pretty great development team that has invested a lot of time. And our work, just so all of you know how this was funded through foundations. A combination of foundations have paid for this development team to put this together. And so this work, has already been done. It could be replicated. I know Craig has more capacity than I do at the moment if this thing goes through, because I'll be doing a lot of program and service provision, but Craig could assist the tribe with some work if you guys wanted help. So, I think that...
Yeah, my job was to figure out how to get it all started, and then his job is to figure out how to operate it. So we can certainly do that here.
Well, that's what I said a long time ago, what, a quarter ago, Chair? He said, come on now, we're trying to fix this homelessness, and Adam and them, they already got something figured out. And we need to be doing it right away, and we need to be doing it up here right away. So, I just want to thank you guys for coming up with a solution, because I know we were really racking our brains up here, trying to figure out something, and you guys just kind of come up with a solution, so I'm really glad to see that.
I have also put together a comprehensive business plan on this project that is kind of tailor-made for me to hand over to whoever the owner is going to be. So I can provide that to the council as well. It's like a 50-page document with a lot of research that we've done, as well as a lot of detail regarding the service delivery model within the facility and how that would work from a tribal perspective.
All right. Any more questions?
Well, I'd just like to say McGuitch for that. Adam, I really appreciate that. I know we are doing everything we can to help both places, and I say McGuitch to you for the presentation there.
You're welcome.
Motion for a letter of intent for this, what's the project called? Indoor Villages. Motion by Alan. Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Kathy. All in favor?
Aye.
Ray, say aye. You say aye, Ray?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
I said aye.
Okay, motion carries. Miigwech, guys, I appreciate your time.
Miigwech and mahalo.
Going break again? How long have we been going? Now we'll take about a 10-minute break. Miigwech.